Hello and welcome to the Extra Connections Oscar special. I'm James Lott Jr. and no, I'm not dressed up. I am not fancy. I am coming on after watching the Oscars, the 2022 Oscars. I went into it not thinking much about it, and boy, were we surprised. Um, I'm here for those of you guys listening to it later. I am doing this live, of course, the night of the Oscars. I'm going to open a chat room if anybody wants to come in. It is late. I don't know if I. Hello. Okay, here we go. People in the chat room. Okay, come on in. We're going to talk about it. I'm all about talking about realness and life. So we're going to talk about it, kids. The slap heard around the world and saw. Woo! Yes. Um, First of all, I just want to say that the Oscars themselves were very international. I have to say, it felt very international, very um, kind of diverse for a change, like, and almost naturally so. A lot of Asian cultures, Spanish cultures, we had gay and lesbian talk, old, new. It was kind of like, well, okay. I'm like, this is some country pop. We had D Nice was one of the DJs, and then we had Sheila E. and Travis Barker come out later, and then they had the orchestra, and we had three hosts. I think Regina and Hall and Amy and Bonnet did a fine job. They were not too much and they weren't too little. They're somewhere in the middle that made me laugh. We saw some wins I never thought I'd see. But I'm going to start out with, and we're going to get to those in a second. But I'm going to start out with what everybody's talking about, and that is the Will Smith situation. I think it's ironic. Will Smith was nominated for an Oscar before, didn't win for Ali, and to have him actually win the night he actually causes a controversy. I thought it was scripted at first. I thought it was all scripted. I mean, I didn't know what was going on. He went on stage. I thought it was some kind of scripted moment, and then we realized it was not scripted. So, in case you were in a bubble and just didn't hear, we had Will Smith slapping Chris Rock. And it was very interesting. Very, 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 very. The Oscars have been known for moments that are, George S. Patton, well, not George, I'm sorry, who did not accept an Oscar, The Streaker, 1974. There was some almost the wrong answer, the wrong winner answer for Moonlight and La La Land. I mean, there've always been some moments here and there, but this one I have to say I did not expect. And then when Will won, his speech afterwards was very heartfelt and very interesting. So people were asking me already, texting me, my phone was blowing up. You know me, I'm always a champion of this stuff. Will Smith is around my age. I just finished reading his book, Will, which was an incredible book. It was very, very, very good book. If you want to read an autobiography that's, has some substance and is very honest, the book is really, really good. It was given to me as a gift by my friend Flobo Boyce. It was a great book, and I've always admired Will and his tenacity and his drive and how he is just, the man of the people. Now, the whole Jada Pinkett Smith situation and his situation, his marriage, has been talked about clearly for years, one way or another. It's been talked about. And comedians, of course, make jokes, and comedians do things. Now, I just want to say I never condone violence. Clearly, I mean, they always say that, and that's never the answer. But I understand where violence sometimes feels like the answer. I have slapped a few people in my life. Yes, I have, not just randomly, but for reasons. I've gotten into fights when I was younger. Adult, I've been to a few fights myself. I do understand that. I never really felt good afterwards, but I do understand what that's like because you get to a point. I think one of the things sometimes we forget, he kind of says in his speech later when he wins for Best Actor for King Richard, sometimes when I say we, mean just the general public and society and people who like gossip and who like to, look at celebrities a certain way. we almost forget that they're real people. And that could be good or bad. It could be in any direction. I work in the business now. I've been in the business 15 years. And I've seen and heard a lot of things from people you were like, what? That are just regular folk things. And I'll tell you, I get maybe 1/100th of what Will Smith gets, but the fact that I'm in a public eye myself and I put out content and I do opinion television, I say things, trust me, a lot of stuff has been thrown my direction in the last, especially 7 years of my career. And things have been said about me. I wrote a song about it, called My Opinion is the Only Opinion, a few years ago, and put that out as an answer. So Will gets it even 10/100th times more than I do. And there may be folks who will say, well, because they're rich or because their life is out there, that they just deserve whatever they get. And I think on another show that I did, I talked about clapbacks, how some people are like, if somebody says something to you, you can't say anything back, right? People can say whatever they want to you online or in a magazine or a tabloid or whatever. But if you respond and suddenly you're the bad guy, and that narrative is so strange to me, but it happens all the time. And I think when Will was saying that you take so much of it, at some point it is just enough. And I'm a Chris Rock fan. I like him. I like his comedy. So I have no skin in the game about him or Will. I like them both. But I think that was a real hyped up moment for him. For Will, it was a real moment where he was just like, I'm done. There were a few jokes made earlier that they seemed to be in on with, because he was laughing, like he was in the front row, he was laughing the whole show. So there were some jokes but that doesn't mean anything either. Sometimes a certain set of words or a joke can hit you a certain way, and that's it. And so I understand that. And so I support Will Smith in terms of just not having a moment. He's human. You know what I mean? He's a human being. Yes, he's rich. Yes, he's famous, but he's human. And yes, he's put his life out there, and so is Jada. And they've taken a lot of heat. They've taken a lot of heat for being the non-traditional Black family that's in Hollywood, or Black family, period. Their kids have been attacked. They've been attacked. The way their parents have been attacked. A lot of stuff. And Will and Jada, in many ways, for the most part, are always trying to serve the people. Jada Pinkett Smith's Red Table Talk is one example of that, and Will, some of the things that he does. They're always trying to give back. But it's one of those things where people can say what they want right in front of you. And in some cases, it's funny. And maybe you don't think it's funny. Now, everybody has free speech, of course. And I'm not a cancel culture person. I'm a consequence culture person. That if you say certain things, there might be consequences. And Will Smith got hood for a second and was like, that's it. And he actually apologized kind of later in terms of not really wanting to ruin this magical night. But you could tell he felt bad about it. And that's human. So everybody's going to start weighing in on this and saying Will Smith this and Will Smith that and Chris Rock this and Chris like that. I think we need to look at them both. They're both humans in the business. One tells jokes for a living and writes jokes as a comedian. The other one's an actor and musician in the business. And it came to a clash. Clashes happen. They happen all the time. I hate to see two Black men fighting, of course. That's not make me happy. But it looks like Will's not happy either about the situation. It seems it doesn't serve what his purpose either in life. And in his speech and how he was crying, I think it was all about that. It's just there's no winner in that situation. It happened. we're human. It happened. He can't take it away. Of course, now it's going to be this huge story. Of course, I'm talking about it. Of course, but I think my perspective is more not from the salacious part. Ooh, does Chris Rock deserve it and all this stuff? Because that'll all be disseminated over the next few days, I'm sure, on all the shows. Go to Breakfast Club, go all these other places. They're going to all talk about it. Trust me, The View, they're all going to talk about it. And I'm going to watch and listen to see what they have to say. But my official stance is that he is human. He had a moment. He won the Oscar, had another moment. And we just need to remember these people are human beings like the rest of us. They're more well-known. They make more money. Doesn't mean they're happier. Doesn't mean, yes, monetarily life is better, yes. But it doesn't mean that they're, you never know what's going on behind closed doors. And some people have breaking points. They do. And I can almost guarantee every single person who's watching the show or listening to this program has a certain boiling point, has a certain straw that just that's the camel's back right there, right? And so I feel for him. And Chris Rock was in shock. You could tell he was in shock. He tried to keep going and recover, and it was awkward as fuck. And no other word for it. It was awkward as fuck. And I give Amy Schumer, she actually said, she was actually the funny one later. She was like, I just finished coming out of that Spider-Man suit. Did I miss anything? And they all laughed. Even Will laughed. But it just goes, we're coming out of very interesting times. Also, pandemic, COVID, war, wars here at home, wars out there, politicians, the whole thing. And so there's a heightened sense of a lot of stuff. And I think that we should just remember that. That's something that's going on. But I still support Will Smith, of course. Yes, violence is never the answer, but I understand sometimes violence happens. It does. It's just, we can all be PC and wonderful and go, oh, it's just not good at all. You just get everything. But I'm sure everyone who's watching this program is wanted to slap somebody. I'm sure you have. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. There are a couple other things I wanted to mention that I thought were very interesting. Kenneth Branagh never won an Oscar. He finally won one. I just thought for sure he had one. He won for Belfast. Oscar winners, Billie Eilish, which I love that song, No Time to Die. I love that song. It is, to me, it harks back to the big band James Bond themes. James Bond theme songs usually do very well at the Oscars, hence Skyfall and three others. Unfortunately, Lin-Manuel Miranda did not become an EGOT. EGOT means Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, Tony winner. He went all four. He would have been one of, I think, 19 people. So he didn't get it. Miss Beyonce didn't win either, but she opened the show in a really beautiful yellow display in Compton. I was just wondering how they do all. They panned out. You saw that whole area was cleared out. Miss Knowles was in town. There was a beautiful. The song is. I never heard the song before. It was from King Richard. It was really nice. But we have Oscar winner Billie Eilish, which I'm so happy. I love her anyway. I love her. I love that her and her brother just have created this empire. Oscar winner Questlove. It's funny. You never know, right? You do a project, and he did a project that I loved. I watched the documentary. The documentary is about the year I was born, 1969, about this festival. And he was from Harlem, and there was a great job they did. And so he was so moved. And Questlove was like one of those unsung heroes in music he's everywhere. He's been around for so long. He's everywhere. He's part of the Roots. But he's so much more than just part of the Roots. It was great. Also, speaking of her winning the Bond theme song, 60 years of Bond. I didn't realize it was 60 years from Dr. No to now. They featured all the Bond actors I was wondering if they're going to feature anybody. They did. From Sean Connery, which is one of my favorites, and Roger Moore is one of my favorites, to George Lazenby, Timothy Dalton, Pierce Brosnan and Daniel Craig. Ariana DeBose actually won for Best Supporting Actress. She is queer and Afro-Latina. I thought that was beautiful. She had a great speech. Same with Jessica Chastain, who finally won an Oscar too for Best Actress. Her speech also, because she played Tammy Faye. Her speech was really good also about the LGBTQIA plus community. It is very important. There is a lot of suicides and hate crimes and legislation happening in those areas. We need to watch out for that community. There's a lot of the deaf community has wins with Coda and the guy who won for supporting actor. I think that was a wonderful moment. He's only second person deaf other than Marley Matlin, he was in the movie, to win. That was very cool. I just think it was such a watching the Oscars. Like I said again, I went into it not that excited because I haven't watched many of the films. I was like, yeah, I'll just watch. I'm gonna watch it because you watch it. But I found myself really enjoying the pacing and its flavor. We saw so much of a little bit of everything. And the reunions were cute. We got to see The Godfather, that's 50 years old, when I said that. Juno, which I was like, okay. White Men Can't Jump, not expect that. And that was 30 years ago. I've never seen that in the theater in Sacramento when I was in Sacramento. But seeing Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson and Rosie Perez together, I thought this is so fun. I never just didn't. And then of course, Pulp Fiction. Let's go. And congratulations to Danny Glover, Liv Ullmann, and Oscar winner Samuel L. Jackson, one of my favorite people in the world. I'm just a huge fan of his. And I'm glad that he got to at least take home an Oscar of some sort, because he's apparently like one of the largest or most successful movie actors of all time. Movies he's been in like over something billion. He completely deserves it, and he cussed like nobody else. So this Oscars it was very diverse and very nice. Yes, and Ryan Nielsen. Yes, it was. I will say, it was, and the camera stayed on it. It was like it was such an interesting. Yeah. But Jane Campion won. She's only woman to be nominated twice in the directing categories. There are some first, like I said, Kenneth Branagh never won he was 8-time nominee and never won an Oscar. He never won an Oscar. Kenneth Branagh never won an Oscar. And he finally won. I was like, that, I really didn't expect, I didn't realize that. I just thought, yeah. And Dune won a bunch of Oscars. I'm like, I was like, wow. And that was amazing also. I read Dune as a kid. So it's kind of funny. I read the original books and saw the original movies and one with Sting in it. Everybody talks about. So I've not seen the new one, but I did see the originals. And it was like cool. It was like, oh, that's really cool. It's again spreading out the Oscars, and but it was very much, you're right in saying it was something else. I never thought I'd see what I just thought I said, and Kevin Costner came out and actually said some really nice stuff. Really did. He really said some cool stuff too. It's like Kevin Costner's always known as being kind of corny, but it was good. I think it was good for both. Chris Rock overstepped and Will defended his family. Chris handled it like a pro, but rightfully got called out. While Will overstepped, you realize that we were all human. That's why I didn't write off. That's what I just said. Actually, kind of what I said. We're human, and I said, and with Will Smith's speech, you can tell he wasn't happy about that. He wasn't happy about that. He did it. He had a moment of anger, and it overtook. And he handled it in a way that, they were cutting out. He was cussing too. He was cussing and stuff. And it gets real sometimes out there. There again, and I said this, and Ryan just said in the chat room, they're human. It's like like you say, you're supposed to stand there and smile and take it and not say anything. And after a while, it just gets on your nerves. Yeah, I know. It's a thing. It's a Mysterio, exactly. Could have done that. it's the Oscars have moments like this. Things like this happen. Like I said, there was a streaker in 1974, having Shashi Littlefeather come on and denounce the Oscar. I mean, all kinds of stuff that comes up, and it happens every once in a while. We haven't had anything in a while. The Oscars have been kind of tame the last couple of years. It was a train station last year, like that. Like it was like this. So this was very, very interesting, and I think. And still the point is, it got to them. It doesn't matter. We don't know why or how. It gets to people. I think everyone has a threshold. We all have it. And if you're in the public eye, you know what's going on. There's things thrown at you all the time by society, by comedians, by everything. I mean, everything. I think there's going to be folks. I see the chat room where we're having a little back and forth. I can tell there's going to be folks who are going to totally be against what Will did, and there are folks that are going to defend Will. And I said it's going to be disseminated everywhere else. For me, again, I'm of the Ryan Nielsen. I said earlier, and I'll say it again. I never condone violence. Obviously, you never condone violence, but we're human, and shit happens. It's not for us to say, why did you let that happen to you? It happens. We all have our breaking points. We all have our points that it hits us the wrong way. I think every single person, I think you out there too, you probably have a point where you're like, that would be it, where you just lose it. And it could be anything. I mean, it could be anything. Again, I feel like Will kind of explained later how he felt and how he wasn't happy about it either. I don't think he was happy about it either. He knows his business. He knows that by him doing that, now that's going to be on his resume for the rest of his life. He knows that. Will knows that at this point. He knows that now this thing will be added to his life resume and career resume for the rest of from now going forward. It'll die down. People won't talk about it anymore, but they will remember it. And it's something that's going to always be remembered. And next year, there's a good comedian out there. There might be a really funny joke about referencing this next year in the Oscars. Like, it's going to be now. It's going to continue. And Will knows that. Will totally knows that. He knows what's going on. As I said, there was no real winner from that. All around, it was a situation that just didn't. But I defend people's right to have feelings. It happens. And I think a lot of times we dismiss people because they have money or because they have fame. We don't allow them to have feelings or give up, or even if you don't like violence, but at least understand that this can happen. I think it's what we need to understand, have compassion of like, that wasn't the right thing to do. And I wouldn't have done it myself, or maybe you would have, you don't know. In a situation like that, who knows, right? But I think we need to have compassion and go, yes, we get that you did that. I'm sure you're not happy about that. Because now the world's going to talk about that for a while. But you did it. He said he apologized to the Academy. He felt bad about what had happened. He tried to like lighten it up and made Will laugh about it too. I mean, we all knew that the mood had changed by then. And it was a very dour moods thing. So, I mean, it's Oscar history and the year he won. So, I just think it's, again, I don't condone violence. You never condone violence, but I have committed violence against people who got my nerves back in the past. I have done that, and it's not good. It's like you just, it happened. And again, there were no winners. Joshua, wow, you're right. I'll tell you, people watching it, like, Chris is a comedian doing his job, he framed. Joke itself wasn't in poor taste. And that's why it's a weird moral judgment that I can't call. Very interesting. Again, I always say to me, so Joshua, you bring up a good point. This is actually a situation of the world is not black or white. And more so than race, but like it's not just one thing or the other. There are shades of gray when it comes to life. Because again, I'm for free speech, and comedians always make comments about stuff, and I get it. But I'm just saying that before everybody dumps on Will, it's one of those things of having compassion with him too, just saying, just imagine what maybe it was just finally a moment he had just had it. And we all, sometimes we have that straw. There's like just something that just, there might be a tiny little thing. Not everything has to be just huge moments to make you go off. It could be something that just hits you the wrong way at the wrong time. Right? It just happens. You know, lots of times, there's times when we snap at somebody that we love, or we don't mean to snap at them, but it could be just like, it's but I think that's the point. I'm seeing the dissension in the chat room, I'm not surprised. It's just it's one of it's people think it's one or the other sometimes, and I just think there's the shades of gray. Again, I don't condone violence. I've said it many times. When everybody saying James condones violence, I say that but I condone freedom of speech. It was a wild moment, but in the end, I think Will also got that it just wasn't kosher either. He was not happy he did it. But human, especially when you're in these pot boiler situations when things just go on and on and on, you just never know. And it's just kind of it's so he's on edge. Okay. It's Will and Jada have decided to stay married for whatever reasons they've chosen. They've decided to work it out. Whatever happened with her in August and whatever he's done or whatever, they've chosen to stay together. And to me, that's actually admirable. In a world of people just dropping marriages like it's nobody's business, the fact they decided to stay, people say something about Beyonce and Jay-Z, they decided to stay together. I think it's admirable. It's their marriage. It's what they decide to do. They could figure it out. And I feel like that is something that should be looked at least they're trying to do something. So, I mean, it's, they've been criticized for so much in their marriages, for how they parent, how their kids have turned out. There's been a lot of stuff they've been criticized about. And just sometimes it gets on your nerves. As a Black person, you felt embarrassed for both. I said it earlier, V. I just said, or before you came on, I said, as a Black person myself, I like seeing two Black men fighting. I don't like seeing that either. But I go beyond that at this point. It's just that it's two dudes in the business, and apparently, from what I heard, I don't know, I can't recall this completely, that Chris has made many jokes about them. So I don't know if it was a long time thing coming, or it was just, like I said, again, it just hit a certain way. And some may even say, it's these two rich dudes fighting over a joke or whatever. And that's, I'm sure people will say that also. But I may be shady, but I'm not judgmental as some other people are. I'm a person who's kind of like, I can see, because I'm in the world of entertainment. I understand how things can work behind the scenes. I know how society looks at people, how I look at things. So I try to take the whole picture. And again, Will Smith was very apologetic when he won his Oscar right afterwards. He didn't look proud and like, yeah, I defended my woman. He was more talking about from his heart about defending his work family and home family and how hard that is, how that can be. And he even made a joke, said that's like the crazy person, like that, the Williams sister's father was called, that kind of thing. And I think it's all around, it wasn't good. And now we'll see as we go forward what happens next. That's what's going to be the next thing. Do Will and Chris get together and talk in person? They do it on camera, off camera? Do they not talk ever again? Does Chris Rock get banned from the Oscars? I don't think he'll be banned from the Oscars. But will something come out of it that will be more constructive? This could be a teachable moment that could really work. I've recently gotten to a fight with a friend on camera on this show a few weeks ago. The show is not out there because he asked me not to put the video out, and we're no longer friends. And I ended the friendship. And so, but I got triggered on camera. So I know I'm usually calm and I usually can talk about stuff out, but I got triggered on camera and got very angry at my guest. And I've been doing this for 7 years, and I usually don't do that. That happens every once in a while. So I know, and it was something that he said that got me triggered. And I said, I'm triggered. And he didn't stop. He kept going. And so then I went in on him, and then I tried to work it out. So yes, I just, that's the thing. But I mean, you guys can, I mean, I'm not here to tell you how to think or how to feel. I'm seeing, like I said, I see the chat room. That's what the chat room is here for. Everybody's saying their opinions. Some of you guys are defending Chris. Some of you guys are defending Will. Some of you guys are in the middle, neutral like me. I think, again, I look at it as we can sit here and go, well, you should have did this, and you should have done this, and he did say this. It doesn't matter. In the moment, we're human. Let's go back to the humanness. Shit happens. People get offended. Things happen. It doesn't. I think it doesn't matter. I think it's not. He wore it. I think it doesn't matter. I really just don't think it matters. I think it's you gotta look at people as humans. People make mistakes. People go overboard. People overreact. People underreact. I mean, it's just like we all do this. Not so we have to condone everything that happens, but it's one of those things. And again, I don't want to see any black men fighting anywhere or black women fighting. Anybody looking great, but it is life, and it's a situation that it happened, and it's kind of embarrassing for everybody. And I don't think Chris Rock or Will feels good about it. Both of them don't feel good about it, the whole situation. And I want to see, as we go forward, if anything publicly goes on that's positive out of this. We know for the next couple of days, it'll be all about the slap and what that means. But I'm saying after that, if something comes out of it. I mean, sometimes out of these things, something positive happens or funny. And I mean, I would not be surprised if we saw at some point down the line a Will Smith, Chris Rock commercial or some kind of skit or something on Saturday Night Live where they're talking about it. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. You know what I mean? Like anything can happen in the world of all this. But let's also not forget we had some great historic wins. A lot of brown folks and women took home Oscars tonight. That part I'm very, very happy about. I think that is a great thing. A couple people I love won Oscars this evening, so I was like, yes. And it's going to go down as one of the Oscars in history that we're not going to forget. I mean, that's in the end. We got some entertainment, I guess. It's going to make it stand out. No one expected these shows go on for 3-4 hours, and a lot of times they're boring as fuck. But this one, people are going to be talking about this, but let's not also forget that it was a whole show that did very well. There was some firsts and some great stuff that happened that was wonderful, some great reunions. So let's keep that in mind too. I want to thank everybody who came to the chat room. I really want to I came on so late. I'm like, I don't know. It's just like the Kanye interrupting Taylor Swift. Completely, Joshua. You completely have called that correctly. It's going to be that. It's going to be like the nip slip with Justin and Janet. It's going to be now. It's going to be in there. I'm sure memes are being created right now. I'm sure things are happening right now that are going to be. Trust me. Tomorrow morning, every talk show, it's going to be all I talk about. But hopefully they will balance it out. A lot of great things also happen tonight at the Oscars. So let's also balance it out too. I know I'm talking about it, but I did mention the other stuff that happened. Well, thank you guys for coming on. I've been on long enough. You can follow Extra Connections everywhere. I do race talks every week. I do talks about sexual orientation. I do talks about everything. We try to keep it real here at JLJ Media and at least speak out on just what's going on in the world to make it a better place of sorts. But my number one thing is to remember that everyone is human. There's lots of shades of gray, and not the nasty kind I'm talking about. There are lots of shades of gray in the world, and it's easy for many of us to say it should be one way or the other, but I think we should look at it in a much broader sense. I just think, but yes. I'm James Lott Jr. Have a good night, everybody.